Many homeowners in Canada already know their property taxes are going up this year, but nowhere near what residents of Toronto may be facing, a possible hike as high as 16.5%. That number was floated today as the city's budget process got underway. Earlier, Mayor Olivia Chow said Toronto is in a dire financial situation.
I inherited a budget shortfall of $1.8 billion. It's a huge financial mess. We have to get the city back on track. This is not the final budget. Over the coming weeks, the Budget Committee will review the staff budget. The committee will build on the public consultation process. I will be listening very closely to Torontonians about what matters to them. And then on February 1st, I will introduce my budget, the mayor's budget.
The CBC's Jeannie Lee has been following the story for us today, and she explains why the city is considering such a large property tax increase.
Well, Andrew, by looking at what the city needs, and that list is long, and the fact that the budget is already short by $1.8 billion. So here's the breakdown of what's needed, according to the chief budget officer of the city who spoke today to roll out this whole budget process. 9.0, so a full 9% tax hike for property owners, which is the biggest single move in about a quarter of a century, since the late 90s, in fact. And another 1.5% for a fund called the City Building Levy. And this money would go to various services and also for affordable housing. Then there could be, on top of that, a 6% what the city is calling federal impacts levy. And that's if no federal funding comes for refugee claimants. Ottawa has been asked by the City of Toronto to come up with $250 million to help house the influx of refugees. So if that money does come through, then the proposed tax rate increase would be 10.5%. Now, that is still higher than other cities. We thought we'd take a look across Canada and look at what other cities have passed in terms of budget changes. And just to the west of Toronto, Mississauga, the tax increase for next year will be 6.8%, so quite a bit lower than what's being proposed now for Toronto. Montreal, much lower at 4.9%, which happens to be the average increase across Canada in the last year. Now, Calgary and Vancouver are way up there with a 7.5% to 8%-ish range. Halifax proposed an increase of 9.7%, which is pretty close to what Toronto is proposing, minus that federal levy. But that actually was shot down, and the city council decided that's just too tough for people right now. And all the other departments are being asked to sharpen their pencils, and the numbers will be revisited to see exactly what the tax hike will be. So you see, the tough times there are for people to be able to afford these increases, but at the same time, tough times for the city, which needs those increases.
So what broader factors have driven this need for more money, not just in Toronto, but in other cities?
Well, you can blame inflation again, and you can blame the pandemic again, Andrew, because obviously labor, materials, skills, they all cost more, and so much always needs doing in any given city. So have a listen to what the budget chief had to say about that.
So many people said again and again that they feel like our city is breaking down. Garbage bins full in our parks, roads cracked. People do want to get back to the Toronto that they remember and love. The Toronto we've come to miss in the last few years.
And there's also the disruptive impact of the pandemic. It just upended so many things. There were extraordinary expenses, delays, projects being put off, less revenue as local businesses suffered or were shut down. And nationally, the office vacancy rate has just hit a 4-year high, so that's another hit. The housing market, that's turned cold for a lot of cities, meaning less revenue all around for various reasons. And of course, past reluctance by some mayors to raise taxes of taxpayers and of voters, for example. And that means that in some cases you have a quite out of whack situation between some cities and even the neighboring cities around them. So a lot of catch up to have to do by some cities.
The CBC's Jeannie Lee.